So we've come full circle. Ningezwa, I've been reminded here that it's the birthday for the channel. Drink our water. I say it's very interesting. Yeah, I think that's the word. Very interesting for me because it's this exact time in culture in the year. This is the exact time that pushed me. You know what? Let me transmit what I can because things are getting out of hand. We sit and we watch from the sidelines, assuming that you people know everything, but you don't. Funny enough. So, who is going to tell Undomnyama isn't a thing ukuthi as understand and assimilate and challenge? Very taxing affair, to be honest. It's not fun to do this. Sit in front of you here, tell you the things that I've learned, things that I know. It's hard work. Because some of the things that I know, it was at very great personal cost. And to share it all freely is a very serious act in personal sacrifice. Those who have traveled the journey, they know what I'm talking about. It's not easy. You know, it takes a lot of work to learn some of these things and find the doorways of thence and go through them and realize things that are hidden in plain sight and come back and tell you, hey, listen, this is what they mean. Only to find Ningezwa. It's been more than what 3 years now, telling you over and over. I mean, we started on that note on this channel, by the way, telling you during this time, can you just stop it? sit down. Where are you going? Because this is the time when these entities that you call gods are out and about collecting souls. Chithwa igazi lomuntu. You go around feeding isithwalo esincindezelwayo. Lo nithi niyokhonza la, nisho niyodla umuntu, niphuza igazi lakhe. Kusasa nje nizobe nimudla, niphuza igazi lakhe. Isn't it Good Friday, I think? Yeah, they do Good Friday kusasa. They taught you to practice mock cannibalism. Amazimzim nina manje, and you are saying something is holy about that. It's very interesting, and someone Ekrupin was talking about the word bless and its etymology, and they were shocked, which actually comes from something else. A Germanic word that means to be bathed in blood. Thelwa ngegazi. That's what the word blessing comes from. To bless. Ukuthelwa ngegazi. Now, we don't know what kind of blood the Germans are talking about. You can go ahead and research. So, njengoba nibhizi lapho ke niyamahlonga ndlebe ningeso nifuna ukuhamba nehla nenyuka. Be reminded once again. Because ongangizwanga 3 years ago is not going to hear me today, unfortunately, but for a matter of record, loku niphele emgaqweni nje, dying in these roads and streets, it's already started. I mean, especially those people in Limpopo, it's very tragic for them. But by Moria, busy dying there on the road. Sazi ke manga amabhasi azokhiqiza this time. I don't know. But all these things you are doing knowing full well, intentionally. No one is dragging you from your house. You're running around looking for God. And I've said it before in this house, that person is Usatan. That's what he is. It's one and the same character. You're busy here thinking you are practicing some religious thing that is holy. You are just doing another version of Satanism. I made a whole video about who God is and what it means for you. And it will be best for you to remove yourself from those things. Phume. Bantu bamnyama. Phumani kulezi zinto lezi. Akekho umuntu oyengasuka agwedle ulwandle and risk their lives ngoba nakhe efuna ukuzohlenga abantu abamnyama. There is no such a thing. Even today you see that behavior. They would rather save their dogs than save umuntu omnyama. What makes you think that such people were going to risk leg and limb to come and rescue the souls of black people across the oceans? It was a very dangerous thing to do at the time. Even today, it's still extremely dangerous to cross the oceans. And you people imagine, hey, they just left their homes and risked their lives. How stupid can you be? How do you imagine that people can come and tell you the way to heaven and leave them behind? You want to sit and look at imsebenzi abilungu emhlabeni. Do you realize that they are going to hell? All of them. When you look at imsebenzi yabo. yes, baba wethu, yes, but you are literally inheritors of the blood and sweat of black people. The murder, the rape crossed the planet. Wherever you went, you killed people and you settled there, and you're still settling. And you imagine those people are going to be opened, like, if there was such a thing, do you imagine that they will walk in there? It can't happen. So you sit there and you think these people came here to teach you how to get into heaven. Meanwhile, themselves, they are corrupt as hell and evil in nature. They want you to go to heaven. Azange. Iphuzela amanzi. Nidlala kakhulu. You play too much. And it's not funny. It's not funny anymore. It's not funny for us. It's not funny for the children there to come. So I'm hoping this is going to be the last discussion we're going to have on this thing surrounding Easter time and the harvesting of black souls. I am really hopeful that we can turn a new leaf, because it's obvious that during this time, siyafa en masse. So until something happens, we really need to cut that shit. We need to stop. Just stop. If God really wanted you to go and do those things, He will make a plan. You must show up. Because I don't understand how you can't seem to rationalize this. If Upra God was your biggest supporter and fan and father, why would He not make it such that abantwana abahambayo beyomkhonza kangaka Nkosi yami bengenalutho besihluphekele behlanganisa imali yokugcina beye emasontweni beyokhothamela indaba kaGudi and eat the sun and drink the blood of the sun? Why can't He just make just that one weekend and none of you can die in the streets? But so besingcwaba next week. A lot of you so besingcwaba next week because we are doing this nonsense. We come here and make excuses. What I paid must always cut. No, but it's funny. Because all the other people, when they are doing their things, they don't get this carnage. Anyway, it incenses me to consider. But again, that's fine. We are now, I think 3 years or 4 years? Hey, this clearly could be 4 years, sure. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a homework. There are certain things that I need you to consider. Because Nina Nintendo always in this thing of worshipping and phone ukuhlala ngakhonzi. You get questions hey manje king, I hear you saying God devil manje fasenze njani? Hey manje fanele singahlabi futhi mathwalo igazi athi wata. You don't, you ask yourself, but what is this thing ekumuntu omnyama that tells him ukuthi the highest form of expression of his humanity, ubuntu bakhe, has to do with worshipping something? Is this the highest level of ubuntu bomuntu ukuthi fanele ayokhothama akhonze somewhere? Iqhamuka lento lena man, siyithatha lento yokufuna ukukhonza kangaka. Why can't you exist as you were designed to exist? and focus on the tasks that you are capable and able to do and you were given to do. I mean, following certain rules, of course. I mean, some of the rules are unspoken, but you follow them. You don't need them to be dogmatized and be claimed in the framework of religiosity or whatnot. They're just there. Nobody has to tell you to kill someone is the wrong thing, so you don't kill. Why don't we just be our natural selves? What is the problem with being natural? Why do you need to worship? Anyway, I digress. Bengifuna ukuthi lapho nje banibhisi nifuna ukuba ama worshippers of God and what have you. Again, ngibhekele laphana. Something very interesting that came to mind just today. I mean, this whole week has been very interesting. But khona le ethi when unengane and lengane le yakho you see ukuthi they are very talented and you want them to be extremely successful and make a whole lot of money from their talent. For example, looking at Lentoga Joe Jackson and Michael. I'm using this example because he was like literally detailing to me. So I'm very curious. If you are going to go and do a particular pact for ingane that is incapable of doing that, isencane, uhambe wefaka in those cults ukuze izothola umcebo and whatnot, ithina into, who is really liable to that person? Because you noticed ukuthi, if we're being honest, if you notice in the Mikhaeli who shone in a 50 something, but he was a 13-year-old all his life. So that speaks to something about his it just never came. Or we could even take it further and say a spirit was implanted in him that was childlike. So lamathwalo lawa ke enziwa abazali, that's the question. Lamathwalo lawa enziwa abazali bephoqa ingane. Ithina into ngawo. That's your homework. Let's consider that because I'll talk about it sometime, I think next week. But I need you to think about it as well, team. Because I do know, in actual fact, in Makaya, there's a lot of that happens. We just use a different terminology and rationale around it, but it's one and the same thing. Kunezinto ezenziwa abazali bethi bayanenzela kuzinto zenzolunga, when in actual fact they are handing you over to certain spirits. Bayanthwalis, when you don't know that's what's going on, but under the context no, I like ayake ingaze like zenzela ukuthi nokuthi. And then of course you because that's the other thing. I think in terms of to capture this thing properly is because we have come to a point where success means all these shiny things. It means this altruistic experience, physical, imali, big house, big cars, all these things. And all of these things vele zafika nabelungu. So you could say that proximity to whiteness is a thing that we call success as black people. Now, that's why it becomes very difficult to look at what's going on. But I'm asking, lento le yabazali abathwese ingane amathwalo imi kanjani? Ima kanjani na uMichael kule predicament akuyona njengamanje? It's very sad, but at the same time ikhona lento ethi, well, it really wasn't icala lakhe, but at the same time it was. But again, I want you guys to look at it, and then we can talk about it next week. And then the other thing I want you to consider is this one. Yeah, le nto ngizobe niyenza kusasa lapho nithi nemasontweni niyodla. Now, if they say ukuphumisa ngomlomo, they do say this, but ukuphumisa ngomlomo is much more dangerous than ukufaka ngomlomo. I think that's one of the quotes in the book Yamathwalo. If they say that, now, if you guys go out to these churches and a man iyaphumusa laphana uthi thathani lesi sinkwa umzimba wami niwudle, what does that mean? Does that not mean that nithwala icala lokudla umuntu? I don't recall anywhere in any culture where this was permissible. I mean, abantu bakaMbhele baba mazimzim, but we had to deal with them in a certain way because we couldn't allow that to continue. Naba basakwenza omhlumayo. So, lento yokudliwa komuntu, how is it okay? And yini na ningayibhekisisi ukuthi inobungozi? I mean, if they do say what you pronounce with your mouth, bayasho, and neqhubeka lapha nize niyavumiswa lapha. There's certain things I think eshoyo masenidla ama-catechism lapha nethi ama-catechism, hey, I forget, but masenidla lama communion, nithi holy communion, naleli gama elithi communion fanele libhekisise kahle. And then iqhubeka indoda ithi na ithi kwayini mphenduka igazi, mina nizophuza igazi lami ashwacima. Are these things manibhekisisa kahle? Singalwi nje bafethu, ngiyazi ukuthi niyayithanda indaba ya Jesus braweni, but is this thing in its entirety not raising red flags? Ayishayisa amakhala yonke le nyovadem. Is it not a crime in the universe ukudla umuntu phuza igama lakhe, phuza igazi lakhe? What does this mean for you if you seemingly can't put this one and make two? That's me just wondering. But umbuzo wami uyasho ukuthi-ke le yokuphuza amagazi nokudla uBraj ayisilona yini icala? Anizigwebi yini na? Ayithi nifuna ukuya emazulwini. Is it not going to be a thing where mawufika lapha sikubuze sithi wena udla ngomuntu waphuza igama igazi lakhe? It's very curious. That's the second thing. And the last thing is, if you've been following this channel, you realize that sometimes we'll talk about Incwadi Yamathwalo and bring up some scriptures that you probably should have looked at it in this way, but you never did all your life. Now, there was a time where the Holy Church, or the Holy See, the Holy Roman Empire, had decided that none of the regular churchgoers were supposed to read lezi incwadi. Le nto yokufundwa kweBhayibheli by everyone is something that's relatively new, and it caused a great schism in the church. But it's schism where Martin Luther decided to break away from the church and started his own thing, because he felt it was wrong ukuthi abantu abaya emasontweni bewushunyayezwa bengazi ukuthi bashunyayezwa. So now, never mind ukuthi in this ncwadi yamathwalo was written in a Latin only, until Martin Luther again, he decided to translate it to German, and then from there it was slippery slope. Now, is it not curious to you, ukuthi I can come here and tell you something that you've read, but give you a different point of view? And you have all these people who go in front of you and preach to you every day, but they never seem to pick out very obvious things. Very, very obvious things. They never pick them up. So ukwenzakalani lapho? And in your own thoughts and process there, consider this thing, Muti. They always speak about the spirit of what you call it? Spirit of what? The spirit of Qhubekani, but they call it the spirit of Qhubekani, guess. I forget. I was talking to someone about this today. I forget. Hey, this is business or sneak. But yeah, when the spirit is so Qhubekani that people talk about, especially these ones who go in front of you, or major one and whatnot, your pastors. So they seem to be possessed by the spirit. Now, one should wonder then, if this spirit is noble and all and well and very insightful, how come it misses the very obvious things? Where is the insight? Where is the revelation in the words? Or is it just another spirit that is supposed to work to create a lullaby effect to abantu? Because some of the things that I tell you about, today you understand that book as Incwadi Yamatwalo because I've said so, and I highlighted for you why I say this. This is some of you are 40, 60 years old, and you never thought about it that way. But it's common sense once you read it, like how, but it's so obvious. So what is it, spirit there? Oh, major one, no man of God seemingly are messing around with. And I'm asking this because I want you to consider it, because seemingly, as Ningezwa, seemingly you are very, very receptive to its tongue. Niyashesha ukuzwa, niyashesha futhi ukulalela, nikholelwe kulezinto ezishiwoyo by these people who are possessed. That spirit of Qhubekani, what have you? Martin, spirit of what, man? Anyway, yeah, whatever you call it, that spirit is possessed that transmit these messages. You are so quick. But I will come here and bring you insight for 4 years, and 90 of you only get what I'm trying to say. Akuzwakali. And we're talking about real things here. We're not even talking about the prophecies. But we're talking about real things that have been happening to black people. Kusasa nje you'll be finding in the news ukuthi beshonile abantu emgaqweni in tens and tens and hundreds. So there's no hocus pocus prophecy thing there. But when I try to explain to you, no, man, this is the issue. Akuzwakali. Don't go this way, go that way. Investigate this. Cha. Uqhamuka uBushiri manje athi yey kuze zonke lezi zinto zenu zihambe kahle lethana imali ngithathe nabo 500 milliliters or half a liter amanzi nihambe niwaphuza and then give me 1,000. Thenge ke nama half a liter nge-8,000 nihambe no gas. Thenga amafutha 10 ounces of amafutha lapha nihambe niyogcoba for 2.5. Sishilo, man of God, going deeper there in the church. Niyabezwa. Uyangena la kuzwakala kuhlala for the longest time. So I'm saying it's a matter of consideration for you who's listening and watching. It's like, be curious about this thing. Ukuthi yini le eshiwa ilama hucksters and thugs eyenza ukuthi nibezwe. Because all they are is fraudsters. They were frauding and stealing from you. That's all they ever do. I was looking at some documentary just I think it was yesterday, some televangelist as well. Peshe, or I claim he's healing the sick and then he got sick because of polio. Suddenly he didn't trust that his evangelism was going to save him. Well, still died, but he wanted other people to stop going to the doctors because his prayers were so great. He praying through the screen. Nomthandazo uzongena la ku-TV la ukhona and you'll be healed. That's what they do. And niyabalalela niyabezwa, and you do what they tell you. As crazy as it is, you will insist in your millions and hundreds of thousands. You flock there. Yinle, what is the spirit? The spirit of evangelism. What is the spirit of evangelism that's being promulgated and causes you to listen and be blocked from listening to sound reason? Mind you, I'm not promoting atheism here because some of you get very confused. I never said anything about atheism here. There's no creator of the universe. It's very simple. Standpoints are like, there is the creator of the universe, but it's not the same thing that you're busy worshipping there in the churches. Wherever you're worshipping in, wherever you're worshipping, akekho lapho akangene futhi. Sangakuthumela ukuthi uzoworship emhlabeni. But he made all of these things. He created them. And he was not going to spend a great deal of time creating all these complicated systems just so that you can sing and pray to him. What kind of nonsense is that? So there has to be a higher purpose. You are not going to design the most sophisticated, complicated car just for people to look at it and so that it can make noise for you. No, you wanted to go and win races, or you wanted to go certain distance and carry certain things. If you, in your own limited capacity, can design things that are complicated for a specific purpose, now you sit here, you imagine that the one who designed the entire universe just designed it so that a bunch of people can be singing and praying every weekend. Sounds scale. What nonsense is that? Anyway. And it's the, yeah, it's mind-boggling, but in Asishi. So consider for me that one ukuthi yini le yenza ukuthi Pastor Ntontoni nibezwe benibhedela impela niyabezwa kodwa nje futhi anifuni ukuzwa lutho ngabo siba defender nje manje mangase ngiqale manje ngimchaza omunye ngimehle ngidile ngishone sansi naye, you'll be very offended. Khona nabanye sebe uNkulunkulu emhlalebeni, and you hear some of the very interesting things that ezisho abantu abahamba namasonto abo. They are very sure ukuthi hey uNkulunkulu ophilayo. But into yasekhaya nje, I mean, it's father to son, father to son, to son to son, tinjalo nje uzodlula naye ungena umfana wakhe. But you will fight to the death to defend nonsense. So I don't even enter in that arena. I don't care about it. But my question to you is that you consider for yourself. Don't tell me anything about it. I don't need to know. But ask yourself, uthi yini yenza ukuthi bazwakale kangcono labantu laba bakhuma lesi sinto lesi nibalandele futhi. And then finally, there was this very interesting question, because I have a lot of questions as well, as much as you do. Nami nginama questions amaningi. I have a lot of questions, especially around the human cognitive function. They're very curious. Very, very curious, especially around Damia. So you write an entire book. I guess it's TJ. Okay. You write an entire book. You design an entire system of worship and praise and all those things. Okay. No problem. So this God is almighty and powerful and all those things, ne? Yeah, sure. But He can do all manner of things. He can create the world. Wenza yonke into uPraji. Kodwa uPraji seemingly unenkinga nje yodwa. Hayi uPraji udinga igazi man. Whatever he needs to do for you, kumele kube khona igazi. From Abraham to Praji. Funa niligazi uLukhuzana. uPraji. Funa nje. I mean, make it make sense. Make it make sense. If he's all powerful, all important, all omnipotent, what, why does he need this thing? You just have to slaughter some enemy. And isebenza njengethwalo nje futhi kamnandi, because black people will tell you, hayi yabona ke nje iqala ngenkukhu kube imbuzi kube inkomo, and then eventually bese gcina sefuna umuntu. But it's all laid out there in the Bible. Kwaqala kwafuneka isiqaphu, kwakhuphuka kwagcina sekufuneka umfana nje. And you tell me what that is. And Lomjita seemingly just can't seem to function without this thing. The red stuff, So that's the other thing that I'm very curious about. guys, how do you miss these things? How? But how do you miss these things? No, bakhona into abasenzayo yona. No, bakhona senzayo. But anyway, Qhubekani ke Ningezwa ngoba vele anizwa. And unfortunately, I don't have this time of dabbling into these things, of tapping into this nonsense of evangelism. I'm not going to preach to you, but I'll pose questions and reveal some things along the way. We are going to continue. We wanted to change the format of the channel last year, but a lot of things happened, unfortunately, and we got sidetracked. We had a lot of challenges. Now, we're still sitting on 1,700 subscribers. It's not helping a lot. So it just tells you, no, okay, the message is getting out there, but yeah, people will be like, eh. So there's no need to try and invest a lot more resources. There's no need to bring people here who might have very interesting things to tell you. There's no need for that until we see okay, we are now moving in this direction. Then I think we can try and step it up. So because it takes a lot of time as well to do the formatting, and it takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of human capital. So tinguti you tata bantu who are busy doing their things, and then bring them here and have a chat with them. It'd be interesting. Yeah, so if those of you who know these things, it's part of it's sort of a podcast format. That's what I wanted to do, because there are so many things that we can talk about. I've met some very interesting people along the way. I'm not even 50 or 40 for that matter, but I've met so many interesting people. Abantu, they are very interesting. So I've always feel like it'll be very useful, for someone to come and tell their story, because I think it would be much more interesting for everyone to realize this life is very complicated and it's very difficult. It's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be easy. And a lot of people are going through a lot of things that most of you seem to cry about. And they would, I think, would help some of you to understand that from a mouth or the mouths of other people. So I thought about it. Okay, maybe let's do a podcast format, but it didn't shape up last year. So how do we continue? Should we try it? Is it going to be worth it? Should I get a studio? Yeah, but ultimately I do feel that's going to help a lot of people to become more comfortable with the things we say, because some of you take the things that I tell you and in a very defensive way, which is fine with me. I don't mind. There's a cooler. These things happen. Sometimes you find information that totally rubbishes your own, and you have to live with that. Anyway, so that's it for today. Just things to consider, seeing that you are going to be killing and eating ubuntu laphana nibulale nifake esiphambanweni and then call it something normal. Hayi, ukuthula kube nani.